Don't you love it when things are both easier and more affordable? Like when the rain washes your car for you. Or like when you save up to 10% by bundling your renters and auto insurance with USAA. Bundle with USAA and start saving. Get a quote today.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
From the Fifth Quarter Studio in Madison, Wisconsin, you're listening to the Coaching Youth Hoops Podcast.
They're playing basketball.
Here's our hosts, Steve Collins, and Bill Flitter.
Coach is burnt out. That's what coach is.
No, I don't.
That's just, yeah.
My wife asked me though the other day. I had tournaments that were basically bookends. 7:45 a.m. first tournament. Then 7:15 p.m. was the next game. Yeah, 2 different age groups, but so I had 7:45 in the morning. Had to be there, and then I only had 2 groups that day.
Right? You came home.
I did. But she's like, I know you love basketball, but what do you think about that big of a split? I'm like, I said, that's a tough one. Yeah, because I got home. I'm in my coaching uniform.
Right.
I had a nice polo shirt on, and what I wear to the games. Came home, did all my chores. Right. I'm outside planting the garden, mowing the lawn, doing all this stuff. Had to re-shower and then leave again. Didn't get home till 9. So it was a long day, but
they do that sometimes on tournaments to make money because then they make you stay overnight. Then they get a kickback.
Yeah, this was
from the hotels.
Thankfully local tournament, but I'll tell you the way it ended. You're not going to believe this. So it was one of these weekends where people were dropping out. Illness, injury, other events going on. The very first game I had, this was my 7th and 8th grade team, girls team. I had 4 players the entire game.
Did you play it?
Heck yeah. We won it too, my friend.
Really?
And then we had the second game right after. So we got brought into the deal. We had back-to-back games.
Ooh, that's tough.
So I had 4 players for the first. A 5th came for the last. We won the whole tournament.
Really?
Yeah, they were you know what it was? They came with energy and effort. They came with the right mindset. They had nothing. They said, we got nothing to lose. We're just going to go out and play. Let's have fun. And I'm like, hey, man, let's just have fun. And whatever happens, happens. And they were loose. And they got a couple early victories of, some scoring opportunities. And we always talk about be efficient with our time when we're on the court. And I said, okay, really have to practice efficiency. And they did. We won.
That's crazy.
Excited.
I bet. So maybe leads into today's topic. How do you manage a game when you're blowing out the other team? But before we do that, I'd like to give a shout out to our free giveaway, right?
Our free giveaway, yeah. Yeah, coaches, we really want to come to your location and help your youth organization grow, thrive, and really help your kids as well. So go to coachingyouthhoops.com/clinic. Sign up for our giveaway, which is a free 3-hour in-person clinic with Steve and I.
In
Plus some other
person, not a
great prizes.
hologram. In person, not a hologram.
Not online. We're flying to you. Okay.
Yes.
So go check it out. Again, coachingyouthhoops.com/clinic for all the details.
All right. So managing when you are blowing out the other team.
Yes. Okay, we're talking youth.
Yep.
Okay. Just remember that. We're 8th grade and below.
So we're not talking, you're playing for the state championship.
That's different, right? And we're also not talking, let's just cut off the top of that layer where it's the
EYBL. Or the elite.
Yeah,
the
exactly.
elite.
For the elite. Okay, different story. We're talking just your normal tournaments, summer tournaments, YMCA, CYO leagues. How do you manage a game? We've been on those games at the youth level where we're just getting blown out. The other team is still full court pressing with 20 or 30 points up in a youth
But
game.
this is, we're asking how I'm up 40.
You're up 40.
How am I going to do it? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's my thought is if I'm up 40, first of all, I hope the tournament director has written rules in that there's a running clock before we get to that point, and there's some other things involved. That's my hope. The good tournament directors know that they don't want that. They want games moving, blah, blah, blah. So that's my first hope. My second hope is I don't care how many people, unless you have 4 or 5 people on your team, you're always going to have some sort of PT issues. That you need, like someone, player A might play 70% of the time or 50, 60% of the time, and the other one's 40. This is where you can balance them and work on that.
Yeah.
That's a good use of that. I also think it's a good use to work on peace. It's a good time to work on other skills.
Correct.
We've talked about in previous, I don't know, maybe it was previous weeks, maybe it wasn't previous weeks. We've talked about passing and collecting the ball. We tend to work on a new offense or a new defense or something that we put in maybe. I always find that a really good time to experiment. Maybe 2 weeks ago we put in a 1-2-2 zone or something, or we put in a new offense. We won't be as good at it. It's a time to try it. I just think that's kind of where I tackled this from. What are your thoughts, Coach? Hey, before we do that, we'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsor.
Yeah, hey coaches, Game Changer makes this podcast possible. Go to gc.com/coaching youth hoops. Check out Game Changer to help you keep stats.
And I will put that down in the show notes so no one has to worry about it. Don't stop the car. Don't stop jogging. Keep going. Keep going. I'm go faster. Okay. What's your thoughts, Coach?
So I've been in that situation recently where I had to manage what the kids did right on the court. So like you will work on certain things, simple things. This was in particular, I have in mind like a 3rd, 4th grade team that I had. So I made them pass X number of times before they could score. I also made them do pass X number of times, and they're literally counting out loud, which is fine, or no dribble, right? To work on pass, cut, fill, right? I love no dribble. So we'll work on certain things like that, right? Or like you said, I may draw something up that we absolutely have never done before and see if they can listen to the instructions and pick it up. Obviously nothing complicated, right? Set a screen here, do this, right? Roll after the screen, whatever it is, something simple that they do. And I always tell them, but what I reinforce, I said, how do you think the other team is feeling right now? Would you want to feel like they are? I'm like, no. I said, we don't need more points. We need to get better. So in those situations where it is a tight game, we'll be better prepared. And I said, well, nobody likes to be blown out. It's no fun. It's no fun for us either, scoring at will all the time. So let's work on stuff. But I explained it to them because some of them, they just want to go. You always have that player or two that just, maybe is a little bit harder to like 8 times or, I can't press anymore, right? It's like, no, there's a time and a place for that. And right now is neither of those.
Right. No, you have like, I call them the Energizer Bunny. You have those ones that just you can pull the batteries out. It's basically the only thing you can do with it.
That's right. Yeah, you sometimes you just got to.
They're not trying to be mean. They just there's one space.
Yeah, but I think it's a good. Sorry, Coach. I think it's a good time to educate players, and show empathy, and it's one of basketball is a
microcosm of culture. We want to be able to show.
So I think it's just a good time to reinforce what the right thing is to do. You don't want to crush anybody.
Might want to show this is a good societal thing. Want to show empathy, show compassion, show those are all good life qualities that we would.
Because I believe at some point it's going to come back to you. If you don't, you're going to get blown out, right? And you're going to be yelling and screaming and what have you. But we're going to talk about that. What goes around
comes around. What goes around comes around. That is true. I'll tell a story that I had an opportunity to blow a coach out. I think it was 20 years later. He came up and thanked me for not doing it. And he's Hall of Fame coach, and we had a really good team. And I could have just, and I went, I didn't. I turned the nozzle down because it's like I was on that other end. That doesn't feel good. I don't want to do that to anybody. So I think that's a good lesson for that. But definitely work on something. And for coaches, it's like, call a timeout, diagram a new offense, run the blitz.
Yeah,
there you go. Or run it or take a timeout and run an out of bounds play you've never run before. Like just to see. It's again, you're just prodding and testing, but it's a good kind of testing. I think you're not being insulting at that point.
Right. Yeah. I think the worst thing you could do though is actually stop playing. And I've had coaches where this was actually in high school. There was a team that was just beating up on this local team, and they were the other, I think almost 50, 60. No, it was more. It was like 70 points. And they
had to be running clock, right? Yeah.
They were still pressing, doing all this stuff. But then what they decided to do, because the coach didn't want to get over 100 points because she knew that people were going to come down on her, so she stopped playing. And what I mean by that, in the fourth quarter, she would we have a shot clock. She just ran out the shot clock and dropped the ball. And the coach told me later, he goes, that hurt worse than them running up the score. Yeah. And they literally were running up the score. They weren't trying to until the last quarter, right? So.
I love that. Okay, great example, Coach. Anything else?
Coaches, go check out coachingyouthhoops.com/clinic. Sign up before it's too late.
Coach and I might come see you.
Yeah, we'd love it.
I know. Never know. Might bring some surprises. Never know. All right. Till next week, Coach.
Till next week.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.